This morning from the Freedom 13 organization is Greg Doolin. And Greg, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm great.
So before we talk about the Freedom 13 organization a little bit, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? How did you get here?
Well, sure. I was actually born in the state of Illinois and come forward then as far as my affiliation in the military, if you will. Joined the Marines in the early 80s and then did an enlistment. Came out and then had a break in service and then re-enlisted in the Army and then retired a year ago this past February. So family now lives in Missouri, and I became kind of a foot soldier for the Freedom 13.
All right. So tell us what the Freedom 13 organization is all about.
Sure. So the 13 represents the 13 service personnel that were tragically murdered by the suicide bomber in Kabul, Afghanistan, August 26, 2021, when we did the withdrawal from Afghanistan. A lot of people remember a lot of visuals in their head, the Afghanis jumping on the Air Force cargo planes and falling off. And, of course, we had service personnel, primarily Marines there, but also soldiers and Air Force and stuff. And a suicide bomber had come to the Abbey Gate entry point and blew himself up for his cause and took out 13 of our service personnel, 11 Marines, 1 Army Special Operations personnel, as well as a Navy corpsman. And one of those Marines was from Wentzville, Missouri. His name is Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. And as a legacy to Jared and the 12, Jared's parents started the 501c3 organization called the freedom13.org. And the vision of the organization is to construct and establish recreational retreat camps, one in all 50 states, 100 acres or more, where veterans and their families can come and take a knee, unplug from life, and enjoy some of the serenity that God has created in our country, as well as plug them into services and associates of people that manage behavioral health, maybe job services, those type of things. So we're kind of a platform for the person to unplug and then plug them into the services that they might need.
So hope I'm not jumping ahead too far here, but your first facility is actually right here.
Right. Yeah. Last October, Mark and I and the agent met with an individual that owned 171 acres in Bourbon, Missouri, right off of Highway C. And come forward now, we actually own that piece of property. It has a 3,000 square foot residential home already on the retreat, as well as a pool house, an equipment barn, 2 horse barns, a tennis court, a fully stocked lake, 171 acres of hiking trails and that type of thing. And so we're getting ready to go into phase 2. We're going to start grading some soil. We want symbolically 13 Airbnb type homes built on the campus, not for full-time occupation, but for the veterans and their families to come through, once a week. The camp director, which would be myself, we will vet the veteran and their family, make sure that we're not looking for squatters or permanent housing. And the Airbnb homes will be kitchen free, where the main meals will be made in the 3,000 square foot home, and then they can go out. There's not really a training schedule. The residents, the clients, if you will, can then go out and utilize the campus or go off the campus and go use some of the amenities in and around the county area, different ranches and that type of thing. Maybe go down to Fort Leonard Wood. Maybe they haven't been to boot camp in a while and they never wanted to go back there again in their life, but now they're removed, they're retired, so they feel like they can go down to the PX or the MWR down there or something and enjoy life. So it's just a different type of opportunity for therapy, if you will, for our veterans.
So this, seems like an ambitious plan.
Right.
What kind of help are you getting from companies, organizations?
Right.
What's coming to you?
Well, we've had, as I shared with you before we went on the air, we've had situations happen that just out of the blue happened. For instance, a couple of months ago, I met a guy at a gas station there in Bourbon that was a concrete contractor. Didn't know it till I struck up a conversation because he had a U.S. Army license plate frame around his truck. So I walked up, introduced myself, and told him about the camp. And he says, well, I live 2 miles from where your camp's going to be at, and I'm a concrete contractor, and I like to donate my services. Well, we're going to be pouring some concrete. There's other businesses here in town in Bourbon. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be meeting a lot of folks at the economic development meeting that'll be held at one of the local banks there in Bourbon, and I was invited to come down and meet and greet some folks down there. We've got a lot of great businesses that are all for it. People that I've talked to in the business community, even over the last 2 weeks, when I pass out our palm card and my business card, they go, oh, I heard about you guys. I heard you're coming to Bourbon and what have you. So we're hoping to have the biggest flagpole, even bigger than Camping World. We've worked with a company that has donated to make the flagpole 100 feet, where Camping World is 80.
Yeah.
So not to one-up Camping World, if they want to be a corporate donor or sponsor, we'll sure be happy to help them in that area. But we're hoping that our flag, once it's up, can be seen across the county, lit up at night, and Bourbon and this county can be really proud to stand with our veterans.
So I actually saw Kim Hurt owns the Planet Sub
Yes.
in Bourbon, and she's actually a senior NCO with the Air Force.
Correct.
And I think she might be out this week or something.
She was just flying back yesterday when I talked to her.
Okay.
Yeah. From
Anyway,
mm-hmm.
so I saw, I guess, a picture that she or somebody there had posted on their Facebook page. I saw the truck, and I thought, well, that seems interesting. So I actually looked your organization up on the web, and that's how I got a hold of you.
Yeah.
And I can see how that happens. And then my wife, interestingly enough, went to I'd already set the interview up with you, but she met you yesterday there, and said she told me last night, she goes, tried to get you an interview, but apparently you already had one.
Yeah. I think Kim, obviously, because of the picture that our employee posted on their site, and then when I met your wife yesterday with the story you're talking about, I was talking to 2 other ladies out front of Planet Sub.
Yeah.
They've got good food, so I go by there from time to time. And one of the ladies actually is a family member of a company called STL Windows and Doors. And they said that they would be interested in pursuing maybe being our window and door sponsor and donate the products and services that we need for the homes that we're building on the retreat. So those things just keep coming about, but we're always open for any corporation, foundation, that type of thing. We spoke to the manager of Lowe's in Sullivan last week, and they're actually going to dedicate some people for our cleanup day, which would be July 12th, a Saturday coming up. So we're looking for businesses or individuals, veterans organizations, churches that want to come out and just help us do some of the bucket list items around the campus that keep, Jared's dad and myself busy. For instance, when I complete this interview, I'm going back to the campus to mow some lawn. You got to do that in between the rains that we've had, right? Yeah. And you keep the place looking pristine. But we're doing that big cleanup day. There's a sign-up list on our website where people can go in and do a pull down on what they'd like to volunteer to do, or if they're looking to be a corporate sponsor, they can get a hold of us and that type of thing.
So plans moving forward here, are we trying to get Bourbon going
right
before we look somewhere else? Or are we already looking somewhere else? Or
yeah, with Jared being from Missouri, we wanted this to be the camp that Jared built, if you will, as a slogan. And then we'll use that as kind of our flagship operation, kind of figure out the logistics of things, start facilitating some of the veterans and their families coming through. We're looking at expanding from beyond veterans to possibly even first responders in that type of association of people that can use the camp. That's not really a big announcement that we've made. It's kind of something we're entertaining right now. But once we have that up and running and we figure out, hey, here's some, as they say in the military, you do your after an action review, your AAR, and figure out some sustains and some improves and get feedback from the clients. Then our next hope is that we look into other states, and obviously, looking at donated property. I mean, obviously, we took the dimes and nickels that have been raised over the 4 years with this 501c3, and that's what we made, as a down payment on the property. But we have a campaign going right now where it's $13 a month. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Tunnel of Towers does their $11 a month.
Yeah.
So we're looking for this June, where we've got a campaign going right now called June for Jared. And so we're looking for about 200 persons or individuals or corporations that might want to do $13 a month. And that's what will keep the daily expenses and keeping the lights on and that type of thing and keep the mortgage paid. And Mark and I, we don't pay ourselves a dime off of this program. I'm retired from the military. Mark's still gainfully employed, and raising a family. So at this point, future endeavors, we're doing pub crawls, we're doing memorial rides, we're doing all kinds of things which are on our events page at thefreedom13.org.
So you mentioned that you were looking to partner with some the other organizations and stuff. I mean, you and I, I'm sure, both know that veteran suicide is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
I've forgotten how many veterans kill themselves, on a monthly basis. It's staggering.
The number that's been associated with that as of late has been 22, the number 22, but now the data has shown that that's doubled. So 45 to 50 a day. Yeah. So have you had any of those type of organizations reach out to talk to you or anything? Or? Yeah, basically what I've done, I've talked to the public affairs director of the VA, and they're interested in teaming up with us. We're not looking for the DOD or those agencies to fund our camp. We want to be a freestanding entity, but yes, the whole premise and foundation of the camp that Mark and his wife have for this organization is to allow for those veterans to come there and to not escape from life, but to unplug, if you will. And then what we do is, like, let's say after the breakfast meal, we have someone from behavioral health specialties or job services or the DAV or the VFW with their veteran service officer that can help accommodate the veteran with their VA packet. Or maybe they need marriage counseling, and we bring in some chaplains from the local churches or the pastors. And really, it's kind of a holistic approach. Mm-hmm. And so to address the suicide indice issue, absolutely. I mean, if we can impact that number and bring it down, that's what our camp is for. And again, doing this across the country, I mean, one camp in all 50 states, and we build 13 Airbnb type homes where veterans can come through. So if you do the math on that, we're using the camp 52 weeks out of the year, and you've got 13 veterans and or their family at the camp once a week, and you do that 50 locations, 50 states, that's over 33,000 veterans that would come through our freedom camps a year. And that doesn't count their spouses and their children. We're just talking about impacting close to 34,000 veterans a year. So it is a big lift, but it's a great mission.
I'm not sure that you know the answer to this, but I'm sure you've probably thought about it more than I have. Being veterans, we often think we can handle it on our own.
Right.
How do you convince people that maybe they need to talk to somebody?
Right, absolutely. Well, you and I talked offline before the interview about, being NCOs. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell my master sergeants when I was a first sergeant, what's your first mission in the Army? And they said, take care of soldiers. And I said, incorrect. Your first mission is to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of self-care and then take care of others. But there's signs that, to answer your question, there's signs that you look for. There's those things that when you're a senior NCO or a platoon sergeant or squad leader, fire team leader, section leader, that you look for. You don't just look to see if their name tags or on their uniform the right way, you know. But that
Right.
might be a sign if that's a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on? Is there something at home? Is there something in your head, without being pressing? And then how do you help them? I think being there. I mean, we are all made from the same flesh and blood, and we all have our days where we might go through depression. We might have days that we go through something that's got us down. We might have lost a spouse, or we lost a battle buddy, and that type of thing. And I've lost a brother that actually committed suicide, in my family.
Oh.
So, and that affects me. And they say there's a propensity for people that have had somebody close to them commit suicide. The propensity for them to do that is, larger. So you don't want, we're not trying to make the camp where we're trying to peel back the onion and get into people's heads. That's not my lane or Mark's lane. We're just the platform where then we can bring in the subject matter experts with those type of things. And or maybe the veteran just wants to come there just to recreate. Maybe they haven't been downrange, or maybe they haven't had an experience that's really brought them into that lane that we talked about, but they're just wanting to get away. I want to get away from the military life. And again, veterans, so, it's not just for veterans that are out of the military, but, for military personnel. For instance, we're an hour away from Fort Leonard Wood.
Right.
So you've got these E1s, E2s, and E3s. Let's least that they don't make a lot of money,
No.
but they're newly married. Maybe they have a child, and they can't afford to get on a plane and, travel across the country or take some vacation. They can drive up the road, and we can put them on our roster to be at the camp, and then just be there for them.
So how can people help?
Sure. Well, again, we have the $13 a month campaign, and that's real easy. You just go to www.thefreedom13. Make sure you use the word thefreedom13.org. Another thing that we have coming up is an anniversary. August 30th, Saturday, Labor Day weekend, is our Angels of Abbey Gate Memorial Ride. And you can go online to find out about that memorial ride, but it's going to be great. We've got 13 different launch sites across 3 states. And we've worked behind the scenes really hard. And you can, once you register for the ride, you can pick where you want to launch from. So if you want to launch from a Harley-Davidson in St. Louis, or a Harley-Davidson in Columbia, Missouri, it's cars, Jeeps, trucks, and then everybody will converge to Jefferson Barracks Memorial Park, where they have a big amphitheater. We're going to have a concert, food trucks, and that type of thing. And that's all on our site as well. So if you go to that site, and then also as a corporation or a business, we're right here in your county with the first camp. We'd love businesses to step up, building materials, contractors, individuals that want to dedicate their services. We've already got the survey and the drafts of all of the property for the houses and where the wells and the septic. We've already got that done. It's laminated in drawings right at our camp. So we are standing by to turn that soil and start pouring the concrete for these slab construction homes. They will be ADA compliant, so that way if the client, the veteran, needs that, it's available as well. And then they can contact me directly, at my phone number. I can give that on the line. Yeah, it's 217-855-5340. And again, my name is Greg, and we'd be happy to point you in the right direction on how you can team up to support those that wear, the less than 1% wear our uniform, and the other 99% enjoy the freedom that those veterans and military have stepped up to provide.
Well, anything else, Greg?
No, I thank you for the opportunity, and I'm always available. I'll be the camp director, so I'll be kind of your go-to on ground here in Bourbon and in this county. So give me a call anytime. We can give you a tour of the campus. The side-by-side batteries are charged up, and we'll take you out and drive you safe. Just make sure you bring some tick spray.
Oh, yeah. Well, Greg, this has been very informational. I'm glad you came in this morning, and I hope that we'll be able to talk again in the future.
Absolutely.
About how things are progressing.
Yeah, and you're a veteran, so you're invited to come out, and partake in the benefit of Well, unfortunately, the 13,
Right.
their tragedy hopefully will turn into a triumph for many veterans for years to come across our freedom camps.
Yeah, and for those of you who may not remember the Abbey Gate thing, it was at the Hamid Karzai Airport there,
Right. Right.
and that might ring a bell for you, but yeah, it was a tragedy.
Yeah, and my, this is not, the first thing I've been affiliated with. Of course, I was not at the airport when it happened, but I was a first sergeant when they brought Jared, returned him home. Excuse me, but I was in the Marines, and in 1983, on my birthday, the Beirut bombing took place. So the suicide bomber drove a truck through the gate of the barracks there, hit the barracks, and collapsed the building, and 241 service personnel were killed. Yeah. I've met some of the Marines since I've been retired up in the St. Louis area that actually were there and were dug out of the rubble and survived. It was actually a Marine that spoke at our Marine Corps League birthday ball last year, and I just met him at a car show that the Freedom 13 was set up at, and he walked up and he said, "Yeah, I was there." And I said, "Well, it happened on my birthday, and I was an MP in the Marine Corps, and we were all fired up. We were ready to go take care of business as Marines want to, right?"
Of course.
So this, started off, and then you speak to the suicide thing. When I was in boot camp in San Diego, we had a private take a pistol at the pistol range and commit suicide right in front of us while we were sitting there. So these things have made marks in my life that come all these years, 43 years later, from 1980 when I joined the Marine Corps. And all these years, these things have become kind of a painting of why I want to be involved with this and help with Jared's dad and the mission. And so it's a big lift, but when I think back about those things, it gives you kind of the mojo to keep staying in the fight and have a purpose.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you for coming in and stay in contact with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you. And that is Greg Doolin with the Freedom 13 organization.